I'm honestly surprised that Justin Wilcox is still here. Wilcox is entering his 8th year as the head coach at California and has just a 36-43 overall record in just 3 bowl appearances. They did make the postseason last year, barely, having to win their final 3 regular season games just to clinch bowl eligibility, and then proceeded to lose that game to Texas Tech for another losing season. But luckily for him, the Golden Bears had their best team since 2019, a year where California went 8-5. And the Golden Bears might surprise you just a little bit in their first year in the ACC. So welcome back to the Gridiron Expert, guys. We're so glad you could join us to talk about some California football. As always, please continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and check out everything down in the description below. That includes our expert picks over on our website, thegridironexpert.com, the best college football spread picks in the country for one of the lowest prices in the country. The earlier you sign up for those, the better, because there's tons of exclusive content to be had in the preseason. So do not miss out on that opportunity to sign up and join our GE Nation. And also check out our mailing address to send us some of your team's gear. We'd love to represent your team, just like we have back here in every single one of our videos, give you that shout out, expand our GE Nation from coast to coast as we inch closer and closer to the start of this college football season. So California, I mean, it's crazy. I really thought Justin Wilcox, he probably would have gotten fired last year if they hadn't have won 3 straight games to get to the postseason. And I think California also realized that making that transition from the Pac-12 to the ACC, maybe that wasn't the time to try to bring in a new head coach. They thought, hey, man, we might be able to still keep going bowling for a couple of years, and that's really all California is going to do. They're not going to be an elite contender, but a perennial bowl team is what they should be, and they thought maybe Wilcox can be the guy to do that. I definitely think they can be a bowl team this year. The offense is going to be better than you think. One of the best, I would say, under Wilcox. Last year, they had over 30 points per game. That was one of the best they'd had under Wilcox since he arrived. 391 yards per game, led by one of the best running backs in the country in Jaden Ott, who rushed for over 1,300 yards and 12 touchdowns last year, averaged over 173 rushing yards per game as a team. He returns. He's automatically one of the best running backs in the ACC now, just because of the transfer over. So I love Jaden Ott and what California is doing with him. They've got 2 capable quarterbacks that can lead the way this year. Chandler Rogers, transferring in from North Texas, who threw for over 3,300 yards and 29 touchdowns last year, and Fernando Mendoza, who threw for over 1,700 yards and 14 touchdowns last year. Up and down throughout the season, but Mendoza did show a lot of signs of promise and obviously has the connection to California already. The wide receiver core is better than you think, too. Mikey Matthews transfers in from Utah. Tobias Merriweather transfers in from Notre Dame. You had Tron Grizel, 590 reception yards last year. You have Corey Dyches, the tight end transfer from Maryland. And then you have an offensive line that has a combined 112 starts. So whoever's at quarterback finally has some pass-catching weapons, really something California really hasn't had. They've already got an elite running back at their disposal and a strong offensive line to run behind. California might not be as bad as you think on that side of the ball, and that's kind of something uncharacteristic from Justin Wilcox, because the offenses typically have struggled. Defensively, 8 starters are back for the Golden Bears, and they need all the help they can get. They allowed nearly 33 points per game last year, over 400 yards per game, and the secondary was horrible, giving up nearly 300 passing yards per game. To fix that, the secondary is pretty much still intact, returned a lot of guys there, but they also added first-team FCS All-American Marcus Harris from Idaho. They still have their safety in Craig Woodson, who was the 3rd tackler on the team, ranked number 3 in terms of tackles on the team last year, and Colin Gamble returns from an injury. More than anything, though, the anchor of this defense is their linebacker, the freshman defensive player in the year in the Pac-12 last year, Cade Uluave. Anchors the defense at linebacker, one of the best, not just in the ACC, but maybe one of the best in the entire country. So this California team has what it takes, guys, to at least get to the postseason. That would be a success in year 1 of the ACC. Looking at their schedule, it appears that it's very favorable and that they can do just that. They'll open the year with a win against UC Davis before traveling on the road to Auburn. They played Auburn last year, that home-and-home series, and they should have beat the Tigers. They lost 14-10, but really should have won. Special teams plagued them. California missed not 1, not 2, but 3 field goals in that game. They forced 4 Auburn turnovers, scored 10 points off of them, but forced 4 turnovers and still found a way to lose the game. They had the ball at the Auburn 25-yard line with 4 minutes left, couldn't get the ball in the end zone, threw an interception with a little under 2 minutes left, lost the game. 3 missed field goals. They just make one. They're already on the 25-yard line. They can make one more, and they win 16-14. They still lost. Now Auburn has 17 starters back. They're in year 2 under Hugh Freeze. The offense is going to look light years better. Peyton Thorne returns. They've got a solid running back core. The defensive front seven is very, very good. Jordan-Hare Stadium, a very difficult place to play. California is not winning that one. They blew their chance to get a win over an SEC program last year. They fall to Auburn in week 2, bounce back, beat San Diego State in week 3 in their first year under Sean Lewis, and then travel all the way to Florida State for their first ever ACC game. Their first ever ACC game gets to come on the road over 2,400 miles away against the reigning champions. How generous of the conference to do that for the Golden Bears. They're not going to beat Florida State. Tallahassee's a very difficult place to play. They've got a lot of talent there down in Tallahassee. Mike Norvell has reloaded this team. They went in and added DJ Uiagalelei, who threw for over 290 yards last year against California when he was the quarterback at Oregon State. I think he's once again going to have a pretty big day against a California secondary that just still isn't quite up to par. They're going to improve, but it's going to be hard to improve that much, that quick, considering how bad they were last year. So DJ Uiagalelei at home has a big day. Florida State gets the win. California drops their first ever ACC game. And when they go into their bye week at the end of September, you go, okay, it's going to come soon, right? They're going to win an ACC game somewhere, right? And yeah, they are. It's just going to be a little while because they're not going to beat Miami, Pittsburgh, or NC State. They're going to drop their next 3 games. They're going to lose 4 in a row. And that's just a brutal stretch, right? Yes, they get to host Miami. The Hurricanes have to make that long trek from Miami all the way to California. It's going to be the first ever ACC home game for California. So off that week of rest, the stadium is going to be rocking. They're going to be excited. Miami's going to be a dang good team. But the Golden Bears just don't have what it takes to take down this good of a Miami team. A Miami team that added Cam Ward from Washington State at quarterback. Cam Ward, who lit up the Pac-12 during his time there, lit up California last year, but obviously is going to continue to do so in the ACC with all the weapons that he has at his disposal. A Miami team that has Damian Martinez from Oregon State. So California is going to see some familiar faces just at Miami now, and they're going to torch them just like they did when they were still in the Pac-12. Then they go on the road to Pittsburgh, another long road trip for California. Their first trip at Pittsburgh since 1963, over 2,100 miles. This Pittsburgh team, guys, is interesting to me. I think they're going to flirt with a bowl game. New offensive coordinator, more up-tempo offense. They don't have the best quarterbacks, but I think they're going to do just fine because they have enough pass catchers to help them out. This is a Pittsburgh team that, once again, I think, kind of like Miami, kind of like Florida State, is just going to find a way to exploit this California secondary that I still don't think is going to be fully up to par. Pittsburgh also allowed 150 rushing yards per game. So if you want to play the devil's advocate, this to me is a battle of Pittsburgh's rushing defense with Jaden Ott versus that rushing defense, and then the passing offense of Pittsburgh against California's secondary. Which one's going to give? With home field advantage, I give the edge to Pittsburgh. And with the worst secondary like California, I give the edge to Pittsburgh. The Panthers get the win there. And then NC State has to make a long trek out to play California. So all these teams are having to fly so far to play these games. But NC State loaded once again. They've got a great wide receiver, one of the best in the conference at least, in Casey Concepcion. They've got Grayson McCall transferring in from Coastal Carolina to help him out there. Blanked on that for a second. Grayson McCall coming in from Coastal Carolina. They've got Jordan Waters transferring in at running back from Duke. So a great offense to try to exploit this California defense. And Dave Dobrin's Wolfpack squads always have a very stingy defense. If this California offense does not live up to the hype, if they struggle, they're going to lose this game. And more than likely, what I envision happening is Dave Dobrin comes in, they make Jaden Ott a non-factor, and they say either Chandler Rogers or Fernando Mendoza win the game through the air. Can they do that solely on their own without Jaden Ott to take some of the load off? I don't think they can. NC State wins 3 straight losses for California, and you're looking at it and you go, wow, all right, that's 5 losses. They're 2-5, and we're now entering the last little bit of the season. Are they really going to make a bowl game? The beauty of it is the schedule lightens up a lot for the Golden Bears. They get to play Oregon State, a familiar foe, a Pac-12 foe, but now a non-conference game. The first time these two teams will meet as non-conference opponents since 1905. Last year, California lost 52-40 against the Beavers, but they're going to beat Oregon State this year. Oregon State has nothing. They lose so much. They lost their coach, Jonathan Smith, over to Michigan State. DJ Uyunglele off to Florida State. This is a team that returns just 5 starters, has a new coach in Trent Bray. Even though he promoted from within, Oregon State has a skeleton crew of a team. California's in a much better spot. Tack on home field advantage. They will beat the Beavers. They've got 3 wins. Still no conference wins, though. That comes right after the bye week. On the road at Wake Forest, I think California finally comes through and beat the Demon Deacons. A 2,400-plus mile road trip, and they finally get their win. Why? Because Wake Forest does not have a great secondary. They don't have a great secondary, and they don't have a great offense. They're hoping to fix that. Hank Bachmeier's transferring in at quarterback. They added a couple other key transfers here. The wide receiver core doesn't look too bad, but only averaged 20.3 points per game. California's defense can slow that down. And Wake Forest secondary, with a young cornerback core, might falter finally against a California passing attack that I think is going to get better as the weeks go on and maybe finally explodes against this mediocre Wake Forest team. So California comes through, finally gets that conference win in a very winnable game. So boom, 4 wins, 3 more games, got to win 2 to go bowling. They win their next 2 against Syracuse and Stanford. They will go bowling. Syracuse, the home field advantage is a big key here. To go from the East Coast all the way to the West Coast, literally coast to coast, playing an ACC game out towards the Pacific is absolutely ridiculous, but that's what we're going to have to deal with here. Syracuse has a lot of talent. I think Fran Brown's building something special there, but it's going to take some time to get there. It's only his first year. Give it a little bit of time. The Orange are also 5-10 on the road over the last 3 years. Traveling that far, I don't envision them getting the job done, especially with the pressure more so on California than it is for Syracuse. The Golden Bears get the win there. They get the win over Stanford in what's still a conference game, just now an ACC game, no longer a Pac-12 game. They beat the Cardinal 27-15 last year, and the Cardinals still undergoing a major rebuild under Troy Taylor. So they've got bowl eligibility, kind of structured similarly to last year. California got off to a horrible start, had to win their final 3 games to go bowling. They did just that. This year, they get off to a horrible start. They lose 4 straight, and then we have them winning 4 straight before concluding the year on the road at SMU, where we believe they do fall to the Mustangs. SMU is way too good offensively. They're a team that can challenge for the ACC title in their first year in the conference. It'll be fun to see them go at it as newcomers into the ACC, but I think SMU owns the significant edge in all aspects, both offensively, defensively, and with home field advantage. The Mustangs get the win, but it doesn't matter for California. They're 6-6. They knocked up a couple of conference wins, 3 conference wins in their first year in the ACC. I'd consider that a success. Honestly, for any of these newcomers, California, Stanford, and SMU, winning a few conference games, maybe getting to a bowl game, that's a big-time success in this big transition period for all these programs. California does just that. Is it enough to save Justin Wilcox's job? Maybe, maybe not. They're going to another bowl game, 4 bowls in 8 years. Every other year almost, not too bad. But regardless, they will be back in the postseason for a second straight year, and that's more than you can ask for if you're a Golden Bear fan. So guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos. Check out everything down in the description below, including those expert picks over on thegridironexpert.com. Do not miss out on that, guys. Some of the best picks in the country, one of the lowest prices in the country, and we do want you to take advantage of it and join our GE Nation. And once again, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.
Yeah.